No! 000!
Hola, llamaste radio, kill it.
I don't understand what you're saying!
I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. Might be some sauce in here that you want to see.
It was beautiful. This shit was beautiful. Watching it again and reliving happier times where everything was simpler, where it didn't exist. Jokes aside, this was an experience. It's everything I could have dreamed of. Obviously, I'm talking about Intermission. This project, above all else, overflows with something that after a certain point, I stopped feeling in Murder Drones. Love. This project seems full of passion. Even if you don't like the style, it's a clear improvement. Okay, I won't go ahead of myself, but I want to talk about a few things first. Look, I know we make fun of the series a lot, but in this case, I'll ask you not to mess with the creator, since she doesn't like it when people compare her project to the original, which is totally understandable even if we don't think the same. She also doesn't like comparisons between this project and the original series, so this video won't be a comparison. However, to explain why this episode is so great, I have to mention the original series, the things it does wrong, and therefore the things it does right. But as I said, this isn't a comparison intended to discredit either the episode or the original series. So let's dive in because I have a lot to say and I don't want to make another 50-minute video. Intermission is a project created by user Golin, released on 27th of June of 2024. Save that date for yourselves, it will make sense later on. It's released as a fan-made episode that takes place between episodes 4 and 5 of the series. It's serving to answer the questions about how Uzi learned to fly. We start by seeing the events of episode 4, when Uzi ate those people alive, but this time we see it from Uzi's perspective, which is a foreshadowing of the episode's theme, which is to help Uzi control herself. But it turns out to be just a nightmare, although it seems like this has become a reoccurring thing. And decides to try and help her by taking a break from so much trauma in a row, teaching her how to fly.
Ba-ba-da-ba! Flying lessons?
With NNV. I'm sorry.
I don't give a fuck!
Well, I thought we could help Uzi with her nightmare-inducing emotional baggage.
Wait, what the f?
I just think maybe we should get you acquainted with your insatiably bloodthirsty side. The more control you have, the less likely you'll up your body count.
Sí, te ves como...
B, on the other hand, proposes simply putting her to sleep. Forever.
What we could do instead is blow her brains out.
V! We're not hurting Uzi.
Why not?
Shh! Ow! 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 Have some compassion. She's clearly scared of herself. She's been having night terrors ever since the field trip incident.
I know. Her nightly screaming is like white noise to me. It helps me sleep like a baby.
I refuse to believe you actually feel that way. Fine. If not for Uzi, then do it for me.
Continue. It takes a little convincing, but B agrees. So first, let's try with the Dracula method.
Well, I think we both had something to learn from that experience.
Yes, this is basically the scene from Hotel Transylvania too, but it works even though it's not even remotely original. You know why? Suck it up, because it's going to blow your mind. Because the characters interact with each other! Nah, who would have thought about it? Okay, here comes a Disney-style training montage. This is so Disney. Wait, seriously, Liam never thought of making that joke? God, character interactions finally! Hold it together, Toxic! Golin doesn't like it! Okay, it's time for the final test, where Uzi must complete a series of tests.
Not leaving, not leaving! Look at this dog walk! Whoa, what speed on that dog walk! Redirects a little bit, make sure they get that. Push, push, push!
Go, go, go!
Wait, this is perhaps B being a decent person?
Hey, buddy, are you okay?
Fine, fine.
However, Sin won't let them have a peaceful time.
Didn't really stick the landing.
Sin takes control.
Surprise, can you?
And get away from her!
Uzi, I'm right here. And I'm not leaving you. It's gonna be okay.
Are you, like, gonna leave me?
And once again, proving what a great character B could have been, she convinces Anne that Uzi needs to be blasted. Jesus, B, that's a bit drastic, don't you think? Leading to a moment where we can see how effective the murder drones are as a team. Being able to take on a Solver user while making me cry because the fight is super creative and it will never be animated.
Fatality.
Oh my god, V!
You are done!
Despite everything, the plan turns out to be a success, but V makes a last-minute change of plans.
V, no!
Go to hell!
Anne calls out B for trying to kill Uzi, claiming she didn't mean to hurt them, to which V claims they shouldn't let Uzi hurt them without doing anything about it, since she's not even their friend. She might be friends with Anne, but Anne is all she has left, and she's not going to sacrifice him for a drone she barely knew. It doesn't matter if she's friends with Anne, she won't lose him again. Hello? Is this the same character?
No, I'm not gonna yell. I'm not gonna yell.
Whoa, Vincent, are you
Well, V is looking for Uzi, who's hiding in some abandoned buildings. V silently approaches to finish the job, but...
Please, I don't want to be this.
This is the scene that broke the fandom. After all, what right do you have to kill someone for losing control when you were just as bad or worse? And if you could overcome that, why couldn't Uzi do it?
I'm sorry, too.
and finds the girls happy that they are safe, and after the incident, B throws the truth in her faces. They're dealing with things they don't understand, they barely know how to deal with themselves, they don't have the answers Uzi wants, but unlike Uzi, they don't remember anything. B barely remembers what happened in the past. She has no life beyond this. This nightmare is his life. So what's the point of even trying? You feel crazy, but crazy is the only way to feel normal in N and B's lives, and it's not like they have any options. The other drones see them as monsters, they'll treat them like monsters, so what's the point of not being one? If everyone sees you as crazy no matter what you do, then suddenly being crazy is the only way to feel normal. So if you're screwed, isn't it better to be selfish instead of emphatic, causing that every death makes you feel even more like the garbage you are?
N, you seem like you need it.
However, this gives the Gremlin an idea. If they remember even a little bit of the past, it means there must still be something in their heads. So maybe they can find clues if they get inside them, leaving everything ready to episode 5. But not before showing us that it wasn't all in vain, since Uzi did learn how to fly, thus ending this masterpiece. You wanna know what the best part of this was? I got the chance to enjoy Murder Drones one last time.
It was you that rescued me.
I love this episode. It's beautiful and everything this series asked for and needed. Remember how many people complained that the second season of Invincible feel boring? Which I disagree with, but I understand where it's coming from. That was because before a climax, there must be a previous build-up. Something Murder didn't understand is that there are times where you need a bridge to give away to future plots. You can't always be at the peak of the story. No matter what the most impatient people say, you must stop and give the plot time to breathe. Otherwise, the plot will feel empty. The biggest problem with Murder Drones and why Intermission works quite well is the same reason Cars 3 doesn't hit as hard as it should. And that's Cars 2. That movie was so bad that even the script seems to pretend that it never existed. But without a story in between, Cars 3 feels like the grand finale to a story that never had the chance to start. With Murder Drones, this isn't very noticeable if you watch it as the episodes came out, since we had pauses of months between episodes. But those pauses are for the viewer, not for the plot or the characters. That's why after episode 3, it feels like you skipped an episode. However, this episode is never boring. It could be considered filler, but it's the best kind of filler, the kind that is funny and allows you to see the characters be themselves, which is vital for you as a viewer to grow attached to them. Examples of these are Goku and Piccolo learning to drive, the pre-cell tournaments, or in movies, the bar scene in the Suicide Squad. Filler doesn't have to be boring, and especially when this episode understands what the best thing about Murder Drones is. Its characters. I love how they use them and the personalities they have. They remain the same as in the main series. The only difference is that there's no pressure on them, so they can be themselves. Each one feels genuine, and here I do feel like they're friends, not a group of a guy, his new girlfriend, and his ex. You really care for them. You see them being happy, like kids just having a fun time. It makes you really suffer when something bad eventually happens. If this were canon, the emotional moments would hit even harder, because you know there were a time where they were happy, that they just want to live in peace, that they just want a moment of normalcy, because now it seems like there's a bond between them. Things like
Uzi, I trust you.
they don't feel like they came out of nowhere like they used to. The episode does a great job with the atmosphere, masterfully shifting from happy and fun to a sense of danger, especially with Sin. She never appears, but rather has an ethereal and ephemeral presence, always there, which helps generate that atmosphere of danger that contrasts with the atmosphere of happiness and joy that occurs throughout the episode. Like a reminder that these characters can relax, because if they do, Sin will come and ruin their lives once again. The technical section is also outstanding. It's not fully animated, which is a shame, but it shows a great work and above all, creativity, especially in the action. When you see Murder Drones again, the action becomes somewhat disappointing. It's not bad, especially in terms of choreography, but especially in episode 8, it feels very restrained. On the one hand, you have killer machines with chainsaws, guns, lasers, missiles, and a high level of regeneration. On the other, you also have two Lovecraftian gods that can create and modify matter and create black holes. And they simply engage in swords fights and kicks here and there most of the time. But here, the action really feels very creative. You feel like the characters are giving it all. The Murder Drones really feel like super powerful killing machines, while the Soulbur feels like witchcraft. When Uzi is possessed, she really feels like a possessed witch with more power than she can handle. It also helps make sense of the plot holes in the original series, like explaining why Uzi knows how to fly, or why she seemed to know how to use his power so well. The tone is also noteworthy. It's clear that someone really liked Amphibia and the Owl House, which some may not like because it feels so Disney, but it works for me. Remember, it's an in-between episode, made for the characters to be themselves. So for me, it's not bad since it makes sense that it's not so dark. At the same time, it helps a lot to feel sorry when the Soulbur intervenes. The cheerful and fun Disney tone makes you really hate Sin for taking away that moment of peace and joy from them. It makes you feel sorry for them, and you emphasize because you understand the nightmares they're living. You really feel that these children are not allowed to be happy, and not Now we go to the best of this episode, its characters, starting with sin. She really feels like a demon, an intimidating presence that stalks our protagonist, something truly supernatural. It reminds me of Event Horizon, since it combines aspects of science fiction with something paranormal. It really feels like a witch casting curses from the other side of the world, and all this with less than 30 seconds of screen time, a lesson of good writing by Golding. Then we have Anne, and this is my favorite version of Anne. It's basically like watching Papyrus, someone pure of heart but at the same time has common sense and a high degree of maturity. When Anne has to shoot Uzi, you really feel how it hurts him, but at the same time, he proves to be someone intelligent and who understands the situation they're in and is capable of making difficult decisions with the maturity that the situation deserves. One of Anne's biggest complaints is how one-sided his relationship with Uzi feels, but here he takes B's side, and it's annoying. Knowing that he had a crush on B, knowing how much he trusts her, it's annoying that he never listens to her, even when she could be right. And well, what you already know, the scene where he shoots Uzi is very powerful and shocking, giving him that personality that I think Liam wanted to give him, but couldn't quite achieve it. Instead, in canon, it seems that he has no personality. It's extremely inconsistent, but here, Ed acts as a mediator and does it extremely well. Also, the reference to episode 1 is very good. On the other hand, I love Uzi this episode. Many may not like it. I even saw others say that they changed his personality, which makes no sense. Uzi acts more innocent and happier in this episode, but it's because it's logical. I mean, on one hand, there's no danger. In the previous episode, she understood that Anne is not going to abandon her, and fly is one of the coolest things that exists, so it makes sense that she's excited. Essentially, this is completely emotionally open Uzi. This will be Uzi without her closed-off defensive attitude. She's an Uzi who's found the balance between being an edgy gremlin and a genuinely fun and outgoing girl. Now it makes perfect sense for Anne to fall in love with her. This version of Uzi is exactly the same as the original. The only difference being that here she feels confident and isn't afraid of what others think of her. An excellent character that the original series never gave us. And now comes the episode's MVP. V. You know, I've hated B since episode 8, but I almost loved this B until I remembered this is in canon and episode 8 exists. Seriously, this episode makes it so that it makes sense for her to be the face of the franchise, and not just to appeal to that audience. Here you feel like B truly cares for Anne, instead of mistreating him for the sake of it. Here she truly feels like someone who's doing whatever it takes to protect her loved one and make him happy, even if it's not with her. She still maintains her diva personality, but now she feels more like that friend of yours who's a bit of a cunt, but the one you know you can count on when you need him. When the sober takes over, she's the one who takes control of the situation. Here she feels like a character, not the horny bait of the series. You manage to emphasize with her, and although the story still tries to show that her way of acting isn't right, here they add a detail, and that is that you manage to understand her point. You understand why she does what she does. This is basically her episode. All of her moments are great. When she gets fed up,
You are done!
it feels so deserved. Up until now, B has had to deal with everyone's bullshit, and she can finally let it out. When the scene happens, it feels like a very powerful scene. Seeing herself in Uzi is a great foreshadowing for the next episode, and it makes sense. If anyone knows what it's like to not have control of yourself, to feel like a monster, it's B. It turns the character of B into what Uzi could become if she gave up. And finally, what for me is B's best scene, which for me isn't that one, is this one.
When you could just destroy.
The final scene is beautiful. It shows her not as the creator's fetish-made character, but as someone who gave up, someone who lost all hope by losing everything. So she simply accepted her place because if you're screwed, why bother? Everyone sees you as a monster. Everyone treats you like a monster, and you can't stop acting like a monster. So why not be a monster? Knowing this, there's no one who understands Uzi more than B, since that's what Uzi could become if she gave up. See what I mean? See what I mean when I said that if it were canon, this episode would fix almost everything? Now the final line of episode 6 makes sense. This is definitely the B fans wanted, and the one Liam seemed to want to build. It's not just the blend of his current self and the one from the mansion. It's so much more. In fact, she feels more like the opposite of Jay. While Jay lost all hope and withdrew from others, closing herself off from connections and giving herself to sin to survive, B ultimately decides to take a risk and open up again. Oh yeah, and the comedy is fine. You may not like it that much since the jokes are sometimes very Disney, but sometimes they're so silly and innocent that they end up working. Except for this one, I didn't like it. I really don't have anything bad to say. First, because the episode is more of a storyboard, but I'm going to break your illusion. Unfortunately, this episode couldn't be canon, all because of episode 8. This episode was based on the idea that the fandom had that B maintained knowledge of the past, even if it was a little. But in canon, B was working with Sin, so the events we saw, all the great character moments we saw, couldn't exist. Damn you, episode 8, you ruined my existence. At the end of it all, I just wanted to talk about this because it made me feel something I hadn't felt with this series in a long time. Happiness. I felt joy, fun. I really enjoyed this. At the time, I wanted to talk about this episode only because I thought it was great, but now it's almost a salvation. The love I felt for Murder Drones is gone, but thanks to this episode, I remember why I loved Murder Drones so much. I remember the happiness, the joy, the affection I felt for the series. All of that one last time, and all I can say is thank you. Thank you, Golin, for this piece of art, because without realizing it, thanks to you, I don't have to leave Murder Drones with a bitter taste in my mouth. Thanks to you, I can leave Murder Drones on a positive note. Even if it's not canon, I was happy with this franchise one last time. For my part, I'll move on, but I keep an eye on you, Golin. You're a very talented creator, and I'll eagerly await for your next project in the future. So, what am I going to do now? Well, I already have some ideas, and I have a few things to say about this thing, so all that remains is to wait and see what happens. For my part, I have nothing more to say. Thank you very much, Goalie, and good luck to everyone.